We can now bring in Shaina Low, Communications Advisor at the Norwegian Refugee Council. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Firstly, I want to ask, do you have teams on the ground in Gaza? And if so, what are they telling you?
Yes, we have 70 staff on the ground in Gaza. What they are telling us is that the situation is just deteriorating day by day, minute by minute. We have, as of yesterday, completely depleted our stocks of humanitarian supplies. We distributed the last of our shelter and hygiene materials. We have been out of tents for weeks now as this 2-month-long siege has continued, preventing any aid from entering Gaza. Our staff are telling us about people going hungry, people looking for food, water, medicine, shelter. We've had over 400,000 people displaced since Israel broke the ceasefire back in March. And so long as this continues, the situation is only bound to get worse. We desperately need these crossings to be opened and aid to be restored.
Shaina, you said you have 70 staff members still on the ground in Gaza. Now that their supplies have run out, what do they give people?
Well, we continue to do water trucking, serving tens of thousands of Palestinians each day with clean water. We continue to provide soft services like legal aid, protection support, but most of that work is being done remotely because it's simply too dangerous for us to send our staff out into the streets to help people where they are. We really are feeling like our hands are tied at this moment as people's desperation continues to grow, and our teams are ready, willing, and able to provide support if the conditions to do so existed.
Now, Israel's cabinet has approved a new plan for Gaza where they would seize all territory. The army would essentially remain put, and then they would push the entire civilian population to the south of Gaza. In terms of infrastructure to manage the population in southern Gaza, are there healthcare facilities, for instance?
Well, first of all, almost all of southern Gaza has been destroyed, and Israel has been quite clear about the demolition of buildings and structures in the south of Gaza. But it's important to note that that type of movement of people forcibly transferring tens of thousands of people without giving them adequate supplies, without allowing them or guaranteeing them the right to return home once it's safe to do so, this amounts to forcible transfer. It's a grave violation of international humanitarian law, and the international community must do everything to prevent further transfer of the population in Gaza.
Israel also wants to see changes to how aid is distributed in the enclave. They want to further control and then restrict supplies, this in order to prevent Hamas from getting their hands on aid. Now, a majority of humanitarian organizations have denounced this proposal from Israel. What is wrong with what Israel is asking for?
Well, first of all, this proposal would violate the humanitarian principles of independence, impartiality, and neutrality. You cannot control aid as a means of achieving a political or military end. This is the scheme that Israel has announced, floated over the last several days and weeks, is something that would really fail to meet any basic humanitarian principles, would fail to meet the serious humanitarian needs that we've seen develop over the last 19 months of hostilities, and would further put both humanitarians cooperating with this scheme as well as Palestinian civilians at risk as they approach these hubs to try and get aid.
We've seen an Israeli blockade in effect for now over 2 months. During the war, before the ceasefire, while Joe Biden was still president, and we've had previous aid blockades from Israel before, we saw different countries airlift aid into Gaza. Even though this is expensive, they still did it nonetheless. Countries like Jordan, along with France, did it. Why are we not seeing that now?
That's an excellent question. It's not something that has been communicated directly with me. I would imagine that those airdrops were coordinated, of course, with the Israeli military to ensure that the planes were not shot down flying over Israeli airspace and over Gaza. And so I imagine that this is because the international community, which does not want to be seen as violating Israel's siege.
We've had now a blockade in effect for 2 months. During the course of the ceasefire, we of course saw those trucks coming into the enclave in numbers that we hadn't seen during the war. Given that we've had this blockade now, if, for example, tomorrow the blockade were to end, how much aid would the enclave need to catch up with all this time? That there were no supplies coming in.
It's not something that we can really quantify in terms of time. Of course, the early recovery and reconstruction of Gaza is going to take years, but we can't wait years for that to happen. We need to get moving now. We need to be bringing in a surge of supplies, medicines, food, fuel, things to run our humanitarian operations so that we can go back to doing what we're there to do, which is save lives.
So in terms of the immediate needs right now on the ground in Gaza, it's everything, isn't it? It's from food, water, medical supplies, the whole gamut.
It is everything. Shelter, of course, tents and other shelter materials, as so much of the population has been displaced and 90% of housing has been damaged or destroyed. But I think right now what we're seeing, and we've seen these horrifying images coming out of Gaza of malnourished children, food by far is the most important thing to get in there to stave off this starvation crisis and prevent things from getting even worse.
Shaina, thank you for joining us on the program today. Shaina Low there.